In this video, I'm going to show you how you can adjust your data labels while working with charts in Empower. And in order to show you how you can work with your data labels, I've prepared an exemplary stacked column chart right here. By clicking on my chart, the action bar appears right above it, where you can find the data labels menu right here. Moreover, one or multiple data labels can be formatted directly in the charts. If you want to modify what data labels should show in general, or how the value shall be formatted, you can do this in the Data Labels menu right here. So let's start by having a closer look on what you can do in the Data Labels menu. First of all, you can choose if column sums should be shown at all in your whole chart or not. Moreover, you can select if negative column sums should be shown at the other end of your chart. So as you can see right here, we have a negative column sum. And if we switch this option on, the column sum appears right here. This section allows me to modify the number format and scale for all values that are bound to the primary axis. If a chart works with two axes, as you can see right here, we have one value axis for our columns and one value axis for the series that is displayed as a line. This is the secondary value axis. And if you have a chart that works with two axes, you can configure them separately in the Data Labels menu. So you can define separate number format scales and the settings for the data labels individually for each value axis right here. But for now, we're going to work only with one value axis. By default, the numeric format of the chart is based on the Excel chart it is linked to. Using the respective drop-down menu, you can change the number format, for example, from an European to an American radix format. Moreover, you can create your own custom number format by clicking right here in the drop-down menu. A new window pops up where you can enter a custom number format by using the typical Excel syntax. You also have the possibility to use one of these examples that are already listed right here as a starting point to create your own custom number format. For example, right here, we have an American radix format and a euro sign added at the end, and I could simply switch that to a $sign if I want that, click on OK, and as you can see, my custom number format is applied on all data labels in my chart. Right here I can select the scale of my values. If I'm using very high or very low numbers, it can be helpful to use a scale in order to make my numbers look a little bit smaller. But I'm going to switch these options back to the default settings. And now we're going to have a look on the data labels part of the Data Labels menu. You can select if data labels should be shown at all in your chart or not. Right here you can define if an automatic background color should be generated for your data labels. And in order to show you how useful this function is, you can have a closer look on this little label that is connected to a very small column. And if I switch this option off, my label is hardly visible. Of course, I could also click on the individual label and select Show Label Background in the Overlay menu. But the function of automatic background helps me with that. An automatic background also changes if I move my label around. So if I'm, for example, moving this label out of my column, the background color is automatically switched to white. And maybe you've already seen that I've switched on the automatic connector lines function. When I've just moved the label around, I'm going to show you once again. If I move my label, automatic connector line shows me to which column my label belongs. I could also switch this option off for this special label in the overlay menu. In the data labels menu, you also have the option to choose the label type that should be used throughout the chart. You can use the absolute value as we're doing right now, but you could also go with a percentage or a combination of both. Moreover, you have the possibility to create your own custom labels by clicking right here or by clicking on the custom button. Now you see a new window popping up where you can define your custom data labels. Right here you see a preview of what your label will look like. Here you can add several label elements. For example, the absolute value or a free text if you want that. By clicking on the little arrows, you can change the position of your label element. So maybe I want to put the value right here and a free text right in front of it. That could be, for example, approximately. Moreover, I can choose if brackets should be shown around my element or not. And right here I have the option to choose my separator between the label elements. Right now I've only selected a space, but I could also go, for example, with a new line right here. So I have my free text, my value, and in a new line, my percentage value. Moreover, I can define the decimal places of my percent value. I can change it, for example, to 2, and define the reference value for my percent. But there's another video where I cover this topic. By clicking on OK, my custom label is applied to all the labels that I'm using in my chart. But I could also simply switch back to the absolute value. Right here I can reset my data label settings. Now I'm going to show you how you can format your data labels directly in the chart. By clicking on a label, an overlay menu appears where I can format my label. If I click once again, all the labels of the respective series are selected. And if I click once again, no label is selected. This setting can be changed in the chart's user settings that I can find in the Help section of the Empower ribbon. By clicking on Charts User Settings, I can define what should be selected at the first click on a data point in a chart. So right now we've selected points first, but if we define series first, click on OK, and click on any label in my chart, the whole series is selected at first. But I can change these settings at any time and use the setting that works the best for me. If I've selected a label and then press Ctrl A, all the labels of my series are selected. If I then press Ctrl A once again, the labels of all series are selected, and if I then press Ctrl A once again, all the labels that appear in my chart in general are selected. If I click on one label, press Ctrl, I can select any labels that I want, and only the labels that I've clicked on are selected. If I click on one label, press Shift, and then click on another label, for example this one, I create an area where all the labels in between are selected. So I could also click on this label, press Shift, and click on that label in the other series, and all those labels are selected right now. And when I've selected, for example, these two labels, I can work with those two at the same time. Now I can also move the labels around. And if I've selected several labels, I can move them and they're both moved the same way. There are two ways of how I can move my label. So as you can see, I can press Shift, use a right-angled drag, which can help me to move my label around only in this direction or in this direction. If I'm pressing Ctrl, I can freely drag my label anywhere I want. Now let's have a closer look on the overlay menu. In this part, I can format my data label. I can choose the font size, the font color, and if my label should be, for example, bold, in italics, or underlined. I can also add a prefix or postfix to my label. By clicking right here, I could add, for example, approximately, click on OK, and as you can see, my prefix is inserted right before my value. The postfix works very similar. The only difference is that everything is added at the end of your label. And as we've already seen, I can choose right here if my automatic connector lines should be switched on or off, and if my automatic background color should be used or not. Right now I cannot change the setting because I've selected that an automatic background color should be generated in my data label settings. So if I switch this option off once again, I can change this right here once again. I can also change the text direction and rotate my text, for example, like this or like that. By clicking on the X, I can delete my label. And there are two ways of how I can possibly restore my deleted label. First of all, I can use the Reset Data Labels setting. And now I can see all my labels and they're switched back to the original settings. If I delete my label once again, I'm going to show you the second option of how you can restore deleted labels, which is clicking on the column and selecting the option Show Label. I hope this video helped you to understand how you can work with your data labels while charting in Empower. Thanks for watching, goodbye.